Today's gospel lesson comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verse 31 through 38. When he had gone out, Jesus said, "Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I'm with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, where are you going?" Jesus answered, "Where I am going, you cannot follow me now, but you will follow afterward." Peter said to him, "Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for you." Jesus answered, "Will you lay down your life for me? Very truly, I tell you, before the cock crows, you will have denied me 3 times. Amen. Let's pray. Father, we come before you, we empty our hearts and minds to be filled by your word and your love. So come to us and speak into our heart through your Spirit, and I pray, may the word of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your eyes, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. When I was in Atlanta, I lived with a family, members of the church I served at the time. He was an elder of the church in his 70s, and his wife was a devoted Christian and a good cook. The house was close to the church, and the food was included in the rent, so I didn't have to cook. And their family was nice, treating me like their own family. At first, I really enjoyed talking with him, the elder, and listening to his stories, like what he did when he was a PE teacher in his 30s in Korea. Those good old days, including his childhood experience during the Korean War. It was sad and at the same time exciting because it's the first-hand experience. It's first-hand history lesson. So I heard it once, and then the second time I thought, it sounds familiar. Have I heard it before? You know how this story goes. He repeated the same story over and over again. And one time I had to cut it. I had to cut it and stand up and leave. So, I gotta go. Because first I had something else to do in a hurry. And second, I knew if he had started it, it would have taken at least 30 minutes. Right? At least 30 minutes. Although he was living in 2012 or 2013, he's now was 1950s, 70s, and 80s. While he was living in the past, I was living in the future because that's all I was thinking about and working for. Holidays and weekends. I liked it after I came to California because I could study more, write more, and finish quickly my doctoral program. And I was married at the time, so I became really nervous when my wife came back from meeting Korean, wives, because they would say to my wife, it's like, have you been here? Have you tried this? I'm talking about restaurants, food, parks, and events that she had never heard before. So she came back and says, honey, why don't we go there? Why don't we try this? I heard this restaurant is wonderful. I always says like, sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I was working hard, but by now, my present was the future. It's like 10, 20 years later. On the contrary to me and the elder I live with, there's a guy who really lives for the present. That's who? Right there. That's my baby. Look. He doesn't care about the past, He doesn't know, what's going to happen in the future. He only cares for the present. If he wants his daddy, he gotta have him right now, right here. It's not an accident that the first sentence he ever said is 아빠 앉아. 아빠 means daddy, so 앉아 means sit down. So the first sentence he ever said, I was going away, he said, 아빠 앉아. Daddy, sit down. That's the first word he said. I want him right now, right here. He wants something not before, not later, but right now, right here. And actually, we are teaching him the concept of future with what? With candy. With candy. I know. But it always works. So we say, if you stay calm and remain quiet in the car, your mommy will give you a candy when we get home, okay? It works. Works. I'm teaching you, there's something called future, okay? Something you look forward to. Whether you are a backward-minded person, always looking back, missing good old days, or regretting what you should have done or shouldn't have done, or a forward-minded person, always looking ahead, dreaming of good days to come and investing in what should be done for the future, we should remember this simple truth, which Annie Dillard said, how we live our days is how we live our lives. How we live our days is how we live our lives. A friend of mine, a good pastor who taught me a lot in my early years in ministry, often said to students, you know what the truth of life is? You gotta live it. You gotta fully live the moment. Neither bound by the past, nor blinded by the future, but you gotta make the best out of the present, right now, right here. You gotta live it. Have you thought about this? That's the truth of life. You gotta live it. We think we live it, we are living it, but maybe not. You gotta live it. But how? That's the question that our scripture answers for us today. We have three people living in different now in today's story. The story begins with a temporary clause that says, when he had gone out. So who went out? Who went out? Judas. Judas Iscariot. He went out to do what? To betray Jesus, right? To betray Jesus. To hand him over to the chief priest. Maybe because he was disappointed by Jesus or frustrated with him not being a military powerful leader who overthrew the Romans. His now is pretty much his past disappointment, frustration, and anger toward Jesus. Man, he's not the one I dreamed of. He is, I say, an would have, should have, could have person. The second person is Peter. As soon as Jesus says, where I'm going, you cannot come, you cannot follow, he says, why cannot? I I laid down my life for you. And Peter, he is truly a forward-looking person. You know what, Jesus? I will do this, I will do that. And I like Peter because I'm like him, full of will, desire, and determination. I will do this. But you know, that doesn't guarantee our desire, our will, doesn't guarantee that we are already doing what we want to do, right? So Jesus asked him, will you really lay down your life for me? No, you won't. Actually, you will do what? Deny me 3 times. And he did. I think we all have this dilemma as a Christian. We get so fired up. When God touches and moves our heart, we say, yes, Lord, I will do this for you. I will do that. But a day passes, not even a day, after an hour or two, we say, okay, calm down. Calm down. Let's calm down. That's not realistic, right? I can do this. Tuesday Bible Study Group has studied the book Crazy Love by Francis Chan that is full of biblical teaching and challenging messages, which made me question so many times, am I really a Christian? I felt like I should give all I have to the poor and the missionary in a remote country after studying that book. But how Francis Chan ends his book is, it's not about the future, but about present. How we live our life. How we live our life now. A story goes, this is a famous story. You may have heard this. A middle school student got so fired up after the retreat, and he prayed to God. It's like, Lord, I want to be a missionary. I want to go to Africa and serve. And there was a voice from heaven saying, what? Do your homework. Do your homework. Jesus is teaching today this new commandment, love one another as I have loved you, in this sense has profound implications for our lives. Jesus knew his time has come. Judas went out to betray him, so he will be crucified. Which means in John's Gospel, he will be glorified. Because crucifixion in John is not the humiliation, but the glorification of Jesus. And he's embracing his present. He's now fully the crucifixion in the making, I would say. And inviting Peter to do the same, accepting not being able to follow him fully right now. You cannot. And that's okay. And he's saying to Peter and to us, even if you cannot do what you want to do, that's fine, that's okay. Our job is faithfully embracing the moment given to us right here, right now, and loving those around us. Jesus is not saying here, love and serve, somebody you don't really know, but saying, love one another who is close to you, your family, friends, those around you. Then everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. It is the act of love, daily action, repeated action that deepens and changes our relationships and ultimately ourselves. Newspaper columnist and minister George Crane tells of a wife who came into his office full of hatred toward her husband. I not only want to get rid of him, I want to get even. Before I divorce him, I want to hurt him as much as he has me. Dr. Crane suggested an ingenious plan. So go home and act as if you really love your husband. Tell him how much he means to you. Praise him for every decent trait. Go out of your way to be as kind, considerate, and generous as possible. Spare no efforts to please him, to enjoy him. Make him believe you love him after you've convinced him of your undying love and that you cannot live without him. Then drop the bomb. Tell him that you are getting a divorce. They will really hurt it. With revenge in her eyes, she smiled and exclaimed, "Beautiful! Beautiful! Will he ever be surprised?" And he did it with enthusiasm, acting as if. For 2 months, she showed love, kindness, listening, giving, reinforcing, sharing. When she didn't return, crying cold, "Are you ready now to go through with the divorce?" "Divorce?" she exclaimed. "Never! I discovered I really do love him." Her actions had changed her feelings. Motion resulted in emotion. The ability to love is established not so much by fervent promise as often repeated deeds. So my friends, an invitation is before you. Would you be a person entangled by the past experiences that are twisted and hurt you? Or would you be a person so caught up in the future, always making promises but rarely fulfilling those promises and missing the joy and the beauty right here, right now? Or would you be a person being grateful for what you've been given and loving those around you? So what is your now? What is your present? It's true, how we live our days is how we live our lives. I hope your life, our life, is filled with these 3 things. Love, love, and love. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Amen. Let's pray. God, we are grateful for the love you demonstrated through your Son, Jesus Christ. In return, sometimes, just like Peter, we want to give everything we have to you. But we fail to do so every time we try. You know how many times we have tried and failed. We thank you for reminding us that what you want is not an event or drama, but daily life, loving one another, loving those around us. So help us not to be so caught up by the past or future, but to live out fully and daily this present moment so that our life becomes full of love and gratitude. In Jesus' name pray. Amen.